Araw-araw ang saya, araw-araw din ang learning. Jolly Wednesday sa inyong lahat mga ka-forever. Isa na namang informative episode ang handog namin para sa inyo. Whatever the weather is outside, tuloy-tuloy lang ang pagbuhos ng weather, science and technology news and updates dito sa DOSTv. Ako po si Jel Miranda, ang inyong ka-online at ka-forever. We welcome you to DOSTv, your most comprehensive, real-time authority on the latest weather updates. Dahil weather lang ang laging nandyan, tag-araw man o tag-ulan, hindi nang iiwan kahit sino ka man. Remember that folks, it's DOSTv, reporting live from Pag-asa Weather and Flood Forecasting Center. Ang DOSTv ay mapapanood ninyo Mondays to Fridays, 11 a.m. to 12 noon, dito lang sa www.dostv.ph. At live na rin po tayo sa Facebook at facebook.com/dostvph. Kaya makisabay na rin sa live streaming namin. For today's episode, makakapanayan po natin ang isa na namang outstanding young scientist sa larangan ng chemistry. Makikilala natin siya maya-maya lamang. And to start things rolling, heto ng ating Pag-asa correspondent, Mr. Benison Espareja. Sir Benison, kumusta po ang magiging lagay ng panahon?
Thank you, Ms. Jel. Good morning sa iyo at good morning din sa ating mga viewers ng DOSTv. Good news po dahil nakalabas na ng Philippine Area of Responsibility itong si Bagyong Helen with international name na Meggy. At kasalukuyan po, kahit ito'y nakalabas na ng ating par, nakaka-apekto pa rin ng southwest monsoon or habagat sa malaking bahagi ng ating bansa. Base po sa ating latest Himawari image ngayong umaga, kung mapapansin po natin dito sa may parting Luzon, maurap na kalangitan ang nararanasan. Dito sa may Central Luzon, Calabarzon, Bicol Region, maging dito rin sa Mimaropa, Ilocos Region, at dito rin sa Metro Manila. Asahan po ang light to moderate with occasionally heavy rains, lalo na po dito sa may parting Central Luzon and Calabarzon and Mindoro. Magiging minsan ay malalakas po yung mga paulan, possible ang pagbaha sa mabababang lugar. Samantala doon sa mga nabanggit ko na lugar, dito sa Ilocos and Bicol Region, asahan naman ng mahina hanggang katamtamang mga pag-ulan sa susunod na 24 oras with possible thunderstorms or pagkidlat pagkulog. At dito naman sa natitirang bahagi ng Luzon, kabilang na ang Cordillera Administrative Region at Cagayan Valley ay bahagyang maulap hanggang sa maulap ang magiging kalangitan. Aasahan pa rin yung mga isolated rain showers or thunderstorms sa dakong hapon hanggang gabi. Dumako naman po tayo sa ating temperature range for Luzon. Dito po sa Metro Manila, mababa ang range ng temperature natin, 25 hanggang 30 degrees Celsius lamang. Dito naman po sa Baguio City, mas mababa kumpara kahapon ang ating range of temperature, 16 hanggang 20 degrees Celsius. Dito naman sa Tagaytay City, 23 hanggang 28 degrees Celsius pa rin. At dito naman sa Puerto Princesa sa Palawan, 25 hanggang 31 degrees Celsius. Ngayon dumako naman po tayo sa parting Visayas and Mindanao. Kung mapapansin po natin, malaking kumpol ng kaulapan ang nararanasan dito sa may Eastern Visayas. At maulap din ang kalangitan dito sa natitirang bahagi ng Kabisayaan. Pagdating naman po dito sa may Mindanao, asahan naman ang mga kaulapan dito sa may Zamboanga Peninsula, Northern Mindanao, and Caraga. Sa mga nasabi kong lugar, asahan ng light to moderate rains within the next 24 hours na may kasamang pagkidlat pagkulog. Habang dito naman sa natitirang bahagi ng Mindanao, particularly sa southern portion, asahan naman ang bahagyang maulap na kalangitan na may asahan pa rin ng mga isolated rain showers or thunderstorms na usually nagtatagal lamang ng 1 hanggang 2 oras. Dumako naman po tayo sa ating temperature range for Visayas and Mindanao. Sa Metro Cebu and Iloilo City, pareho ng range of temperature, 26 hanggang 32 degrees Celsius. Dito naman sa Metro Davao, pinakamainit pa rin 25 hanggang 33 degrees Celsius. At sa Zamboanga City naman, maglalaro ang temperatura mula 24 hanggang 32 degrees Celsius. Sa ngayon po, meron din tayong gale warning. At kung mapapansin po natin, concentrated na lamang dito sa extreme northern Luzon. Particularly sa mga baybay ng Batanes and Babueng Group of Islands. At maging dito rin sa northern coast ng Ilocos Norte at ng Cagayan. Umaabot pa rin ang mga pag-alon mula 3.4 hanggang 4.5 meters. So bawal pa rin po pumalawak ang mga kababayan natin doon na nangingisda at yung may maliliit na sasakyang pandagat dahil po sa epekto ng habagat at matataas na mga pag-alon. At bukod po dun sa binabantayan natin na si Typhoon Helen, na ngayon ay nananalasa na dito sa may southeastern China, ay meron po tayong minomonitor na panibagong bagyo sa labas ng Philippine Area of Responsibility at pinangalanan na po ito na Chaba, na pangalan po galing sa Thailand, isang uri po ito ng bulaklak. Tropical storm category po ito pero inaasahan na lalakas pa ito, posible maging typhoon habang nandito pa sa karagatan. At namataan po kaninang madaling araw sa layong 3,110 kilometers sa silangan ng Luzon. So medyo malayo pa nga po ito. At ito'y kumikilos pa westward sa bilis na 20 kilometers per hour. Sa ngayon po, ang lakas ng hangin nito ay 65 kilometers per hour. Malapit sa gitna, may pagbugso naman na umaabot sa 80 kilometers per hour. Kung magpapatuloy po yung bilis at direksyon nito, maaari itong pumasok sa ating Philippine Area of Responsibility sa darating na Sabado. So panibago na naman pong bagyo ito sa darating na October at papangalanan po natin ito na Igme. At patuloy po natin itong monitor kung sakasakaling makaka-apekto ito sa ating bansa. Yan muna, pumunta muna tayo sa ating sunset and sunrise. Ang ating sunset ay sa ganap na 5:49 ng hapon at ang ating sunrise bukas ay 5:45 ng umaga. At mula dito sa Weather Forecasting Center ng DOST Pag-asa, ako po si Benison Estareja reporting for DOSTv.
And for exclusive content na dito nyo lang sa DOSTv makikita, here's Mr. Danilo Flores for our flood and water level advisory.
Magandang umaga, Jel, saka sa ating mga taga-subaybay sa DOSTv. Si Danny Flores po mula sa HMD dito sa Pag-asa. Mag-uulat sa mga kalagayan ng ating dams ngayong umaga as of 6 this morning. Unahin na natin, Jel, yung Angat Dam. Ang ating Angat Dam ay nasa level na 193.58 ngayong umaga, kung saan bumaba pa siya ng 20 centimeters. Pantabangan Dam natin, nasa 193.22. Bagya siyang tumataas. Ang 24-hour change niya is 0.05. San Roque Dam. Ang ating San Roque Dam ay tumaas din. Nasa level na 266.83. Tumaas siya ng 36 centimeters in 24 hours. Ang ating Magat Dam, kung mapapansin natin, umaangat din. Nasa 170.75. Tumaas siya ng 23 centimeters in 24 hours. Maliban doon, meron tayong pagbubukas sa ating dam dito sa Ipo Dam. As of 8 this morning, bukas siya ng 1 gate kung saan 0.3 meters na kanyang bukas. Nasa 61.6 in cubic centimeters per second. Sa level niya na 101.4 meters. Ang mga target areas nito, Jel, natatamaan, dadalo ito sa Sagaray, sa Angat, San Rafael, Bustos, Baliwag, Pulilan, Laredel, at Hagunoy. So, maliban dito, meron tayong issuance ng General Flood Advisories. Mapapansin natin, meron tayo dito sa Region 2, sa Cagayan Valley, Region 4A, Calabarzon, Region 4B, Mimaropa, Region 5 sa Bicol, Region 6 sa Western Visayas, Central Visayas, Region 7, and Region 8 sa Eastern Visayas. Kung mapapansin natin, yung mga pag-ulan dito sa Central Philippines, halos lang nandiyan dahil dulot ito ng habagat. So dito sa norte naman, yung sa northeastern side, nagdulot din ng pag-ulan kasi dadaan lang ng bagyong Helen. So mula pa rin dito sa Hydromet Division ng Pag-asa, si Danny Flores ang nag-uulat.
Ano kaya mga proyekto ang hatid ng DOST para sa mamamayang Pilipino? Alamin dito sa DOSTv Flash Report.
The locally developed educational tool called Starbooks has gained much interest in the province of Quezon after it was first installed in the province in 2014. After its installation, various private and public schools in Quezon requested this knowledge product from the Department of Science and Technology's Science and Technology Information Institute, the developer of Starbooks. Starbooks of the Science and Technology Academic Research-based openly operated kiosk station is a library in a box for students in the elementary, high school, and college students, as well as researchers all over the country. This initiative is also in partnership with the Librarians Association of Quezon Province in Lucena Incorporated. That signals the start of a continuous search for more innovative learning systems that would allow easy access to S&T information for the benefit of students, particularly in the province where internet connectivity is low or non-existent. The municipal and school libraries of Quezon, specifically in Mulanay, San Andres, and Atimonan, now have Starbooks through the initiative of DOST Region 4A under the Community Empowerment through Science and Technology Program. 8 schools, private and public, have been installed Starbooks that included, among others, the Quezon Provincial Library and Lucena City Library. This was made possible through the efforts of the Librarians Association of Quezon Province and Lucena Incorporated. To date, the number of Starbooks installed in almost all regions in the country stands at 853. Some of these kiosks are now installed with the latest version, with more livelihood videos from the former Technology Resource Center, thus providing more information on possible business enterprises, which viewers can use to start earning. Starbooks program aims to be all over the country and make it available to students and the general public in more cities and barrios. Soon to be launched is the Super Starbooks, as revitalized, more enhanced version with more content and videos. For those interested in Starbooks, they may contact the Science and Technology Information Institute at telephone numbers 02-837-2191-295 or log on to www.science.ph for more details. The Department of Science and Technology, or DOST, through the Philippine Council for Health Research and Development, or PCHRD, will provide additional 1,000 RX-Box telehealth devices in the country. The rollout was launched during the Science Nation Tour on June 9, 2016, at the Philippine Council for Agriculture, Aquatic and Natural Resources Research and Development, EO Tan Hall. The RX Box is a telehealth device allowing consultations even from geographically isolated and depressed areas of the country. National Institutes of Health Executive Director Eva Maria Cutionco de la Paz shared that the RX Box has 3 important ingredients: identified need, partnerships among experts, and commitment to serve every Filipino. The Science Nation Tour is a nationwide strategy of DOST to promote technological advancement to the Filipino community. Aside from the launching ceremony and commitment board signing, demonstration of RX Box and introduction of its new features were also held.
The National Academy of Science and Technology Philippines, or NAS Philippines, and the Association of Academies and Societies of Sciences in Asia, supported by the Inter-Academy Partnership and the Department of Science and Technology Philippines, jointly organized the AASSA NAS Philippines Workshop on the role of science academies in sustainable development, which will be held in conjunction with the 2016 Annual Climate Conference on Addressing Climate Risk for Sustainable Development on September 28 to 29, 2016 at the Alvista Hotel, Tagaytay City. The international conference generally aims to contribute to this learning process. Specifically, the conference aims to promote sharing of experiences of the science academies in sustainable development, identify priority research and development agenda, and discuss policy implications of research outputs. thinking that cooperative and collaborative efforts of science academies and societies are essential in formulating science-based decisions and recommendations for the development of nations involved. The organizers invited researchers, especially the younger scientists, from various IASSA member countries to present their most recent research results on topics related to the theme of the conference. Simula na ngayong araw ito mga ka-forever, kaya kita-kits!
May ibibigay sa ilan sa inyo ang mga resita namin.
Masama!
So with the equipment we have had with DOST Region 12, last September we had a training on the production, and from that training I had to list the materials, of course, and how much production by batch ang ma-produce. Just after the training we have had last September, MOX, Isulan, and DOS Region 12 nagkaroon na ng order sa amin, and we cannot just sustain it because probably one is manpower. Hours per day, if we can have 10 batches of production, then you can produce more than 3,800 times 10 production per day.
Itong bigas at saka munggo na itong bimo na product po ninyo, sa pananaw ko po malaking tulong po ito sa mga bata, kasi yung mga bata once na makita nila na raw munggo po, yung iba hindi na yun po sila kakain, pero pag na-process na po na magiging powder na at saka ihalo sa kahit anong recipe namin, for sure po makakain ng mga bata ang nutrients na kailangan ng kanilang katawan. Ang mga dropouts po, hindi na po gaanong marami dahil na-encourage na po yung mga bata na pumasok po araw-araw dahil sa merong libreng pagkain. Kasi minsan po yung reason why nag-a-absent yung mga bata at saka dropouts dahil po sa poverty. So kulang sa pagkain. So ngayon na merong programa ang ating gobyerno na libreng pagkain sa mga bata, especially sa mga unfortunate na mga bata at saka yung mga walang-wala po sa buhay.
The Outstanding Young Scientists or OYS Awards are given to young Filipino scientists who have made significant contributions to science and technology. At ang guest natin for today ay isa sa mga pinagpalang mabigyan ng ganitong recognition. He obtained his PhD in chemistry from the Manchester University, United Kingdom. Furthermore, he got his postdoctoral training from the Radiation Oncology Branch, National Cancer Institute of the National Institutes of Health, USA. His research interests revolve around the development of molecular probes or small molecule to macromolecular as tools for in vivo medical imaging such as MRI and PET scan. He has co-authored a series of science textbooks from grades 7 to 10, writing chemistry component based on the new DepEd curricula. In addition, early this year, Dr. Villaraza was appointed Deputy Director of the International Linkages of the UP System. Dr. Villaraza's efforts in encouraging young Filipino scientists to return to the Philippines have resulted in the recruitment of 44 new PhDs under the Balik PhD program of the University of the Philippines. Currently, he is a faculty member of Institute of Chemistry, University of the Philippines, Diliman, and is one of the outstanding young scientist awardee this year. Mga ka-forever, please all welcome Dr. Aaron Joseph Villaraza. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Jel.
And of course, ngayon pa lang, sobrang pasalamat kami. Ngayon pa lang, ramdam na namin na we're honored na kasama ka namin ngayon dito sa DOSTv.
I know, I'm very happy also and thank you also for the invitation to appear on the program.
Siyempre, di ba, sabi nga namin, iba't ibang scientists na yung mga nakakaharap namin dito eh. Pero kayo talaga, sir, direkta, bakit ito napiling yung field, ang research?
Well, chemistry, kasi interesting yung chemistry because yung chemistry is the kind of field which you can truly consider parang the central science.
Okay.
Kasi marami siyang natatamaan whether it's something from public policy issues all the way down to environmental, all the way down to health and material science. So, starting from chemistry, it's a central point where you can branch out into many fields which can affect humans.
Okay, pero merong bang, kumbaga, biggest influence itong field nito para sa inyo?
Well, at least ako, for my own research, so the general field ko is medicinal chemistry.
Okay.
So parang I initially did my PhD work on the synthesis nga, as you mentioned, yung on radiologic contrast media. Kasi importante na to be able to find ways and means to be able to diagnose diseases as soon as possible. Diba? For example, in the case of cancer, I think one of the challenges in medicine is that usually when patients are diagnosed with cancer, medyo parang alanganin na, di ba? So the sooner a diagnosis can be made, the better the chances of the patient for survival. So I spent my PhD years working on diagnostic tools which can be injected na yung parang pang-IV. So halimbawa, let's say kung pupunta ka ng hospital and then you're told to undergo an MRI scan, usually they will inject something inside you, parang pampailaw na mga blood vessels. So that's what I did my PhD work on.
Okay.
Then for sa postdoc naman, I decided to focus on something more specific, so breast cancer. Kasi breast cancer is widespread. It's a mutilating kind of cancer, so it's a big public concern. So I decided to move from the small molecule regime to the macromolecular regime, working on antibodies and antibody polymer conjugates to be able to diagnose breast cancer. And so we published all these results. No? So but however, upon returning here to the Philippines, one of the competitive advantages that I noticed looking at the scientific landscape is that we have a tremendous amount of biodiversity, both mammalian and more especially marine. And what we are realizing is that the marine biodiversity of the Philippines, kasi alam mo naman, there's 7,100 islands,
Yes,
depending
around the
kung
Philippines,
high
yes.
tide or low tide. Diba?
Parang, di ba, pang Miss Universe? Okay.
So we have so much coastline. And along all those coastline, we have the Pacific Ocean and the waters moving up, hitting the Philippines. It creates many kinds of microenvironments. And within those ecological microenvironments, you have very interesting biochemistry happening there. Kaya even the United States government has realized that the Philippine oceans, the water surrounding the Philippines, is actually a vast potential source for the new drugs, new antibiotics, new pain relief drugs, new anti-cancer. So we are currently, yung research groups that I'm associated with in UP, and the collaborations with the United States, these are the kinds of molecules that we are looking at. So potential antibiotics, potential anti-cancers. We're also, in particular, I'm looking also at drugs for pain relief.
Okay.
Kasi it's one thing to treat a patient's disease, but then the reality is that a patient is also in pain. So parang it's important to be able to find also new pain relief drugs.
Kasi yan, mas mapapalawig pa natin yung discussion natin about this topic talaga. Pero kayo ba, sir, umpisa pa lang, bata pa lang ba kayo talagang hilig nyo na ng science? Or hilig nyo na talagang parang mag-experiment, ganyan?
I suppose mahirap, I don't know, kasi I was actually very interested in music. So,
Okay, so-
I remember at 13 years old, I had a piano recital dito sa College of Music, because nung nagpa-piano ako, nagba-violin ako, I really enjoyed music. But then, I don't know, I sort of thought that chemistry is also interesting. I used to go to the garden, then kung ano yung mga halaman na kinukuha ko, then I would boil the leaves and then whatever, look at the color changes. And it really was very interesting. But I think yung parang pinaka long-term vision ko at the end of it all was, it would be nice to be able to contribute to human health. Right? So parang, alam mo naman, everyone wants to say that they helped in cancer research or they helped in something. So I thought, okay, let's pursue something along that line. No? And chemistry is a good jumping point to do something like that.
Kayo ba talaga, sir, yung typical na scientist na pag sinabi mo, ano ba talaga ang trabaho ng isang chemist? Yung usual parang tipong alam mo, Einstein. Alam mo yung totoo, nasa laboratory ka na lang palagi. Parang gano'n, nagtitimpla-timpla, ganyan.
Well,
Hindi ba kayo gano'n?
No, actually, the reality is, so, okay, at some level, totoo yan. So, when you are doing the master's and the PhD in chemistry, to a large extent, yes, nakukulong ka talaga sa lab. So, I remember having to spend long hours, kahit winter, kahit whatever, no? So, but then, as you progress in a scientific career, you realize that actually there are bigger challenges out there. Kasi, for example, public perception of science. What does society consider an important scientific issue which will benefit the community? I think that's why, for example, this program of DOSTv is very important because it increases the public perception or the public awareness of what science can do for society. And then, for example, the other thing which that I've encountered na is, which the country needs to improve in is, whereas in the UK and in the United States, yung pinag-iisipan ko lang talaga was just the science, I came back to the Philippines and I realized that the country, since the Philippines is still a developing country, there are still some portions of the value chain, for example, with respect to medicinal chemistry, where you start with the concept of a new kind of medicine to be able to bring it to a commercial product which can then be sold and doctors can administer it to patients. Yung mga in between, yan yung mga kulang. So I found that in addition to worrying about the science, I've had to worry about accounting and the management of the project, and sometimes I wonder, parang ito ba dapat talagang pinag-iisipan ko, no? So shouldn't I be focusing on the science? Because the reality is, in developed countries, that value chain is already established. And this is what I hope the current DOST Secretary De La Peña, will manage to achieve, because he himself, in the few conversations that we've had and in the few talks that I've seen him give, is very conscious that we need to be able to bring all this research that DOST is funding to society.
Yes.
And that's why he's coming up with all these programs to be able to connect private investors, to be able to connect so that yung pera, yung taxpayers' money ng Filipinos may pupuntahan.
Oo.
Diba?
At saka alam natin talaga kung gaano kahirap yung trabaho ng mga researchers, and eventually this works naiimbak na sa mga shelves eh. So siguro yung implementation for this or yung mga policy making na maipatupad din, 'di ba?
Yes.
May tuloy-tuloy. Siyempre kayo, sabi nga natin, wala namang madaling trabaho. Pero bilang isang chemist, gaano kahirap?
Wow! I suppose, mahirap sabihin kasi, parang every molecule is unique.
Okay.
Diba? So, in fact, diba, parang we speak about science, diba? And then we speak about science and we look at textbooks and then we study the textbooks and parang we get the impression that therefore, lahat yan, everything that you study applies to all cases. But then, once you get to the level of frontier research, parang when you start looking at phenomena, chemical phenomena in particular, which no one has ever looked at before, sometimes the usual rules don't apply anymore. Kaya research talaga siya, di ba? It really is a question of investigation. And okay, you can make an intelligent guess. You can make a hypothesis because anyway, this is the point of studying BS chemistry and getting a PhD, diba? So you have some sort of prior knowledge. But once you get to that frontier, well, that's when the scientific method becomes very important. Now, how do you design an experiment or a project? What are the sorts of questions which need to be asked? And then how do you go about answering those questions? And then that's when the real issues come in. So do we have the money to be able to answer those questions? Is the infrastructure available? So on and so forth. So is it difficult? Well, I think the answer is kaya with training. With resources, it can be done.
Okay, challenging.
Challenging, yes. But exciting.
Exciting talaga.
Yes.
Hindi ba in a way nakaka-frustrate? Let's say meron kang experiment, tapos hindi naging, alam mo na, yung nag-fail, ganyan, diba? Oo. Tapos hindi mo ma-i-apply sa daily lives natin.
Well, that's why I think part of the role of the scientist is to be a visionary.
Okay.
Diba? Kasi parang here you are, dati I remember during the PhD, there was one compound that I was working on, 13-step synthesis. And one more step na lang, and all I needed to do was to transfer the compound as a powder from the flask to a vial for storage. No? Ako na lang yung nag-iisa sa lab. It was like 10 p.m. already, and then pagod na ako, gutom na ako, di pa kumakain. And I said, okay, all I have to do is just to transfer, and then I can go home. I didn't realize yung flask, meron na palang hairline fracture. Okay. So while I was scraping it, biglang pumutok siya sa akin. So it spread pa all over me. So parang, what did you do, di ba? Parang sisigaw, there's no one to hear you. So wala, you just have to calm down and start all over again. Kaya that's why I think science requires a lot of emotional maturity as well. You have to be able to deal with these sorts of yung frustrations nga,
yes.
And it has been the case. I remember where there were colleagues who were already suffering from various forms of depression. So that's why it's not unusual na you find scientists na umiinom sila lagi kumakain tumatabahan because it's the stress diba? But that's why you need some degree of emotional maturity to somehow stay above it all and to have a long-term vision that even though there are small failures now, I'm going somewhere in this direction, and that is what makes all of these little frustrations worthwhile.
Okay. So lahat na ng mga nagawa niyo, sir, ano yung masasabi mong, yung talagang most memorable part ng work mo? Hindi mo talaga makakalimutan.
Wow, that's a very difficult question. I don't know, maybe it's because I have a very good memory, but
okay.
They're all very memorable.
Okay. Ang hirap nun, parang lahat nakatatak sa'yo eh.
Yes. Well, I think so far, I think what is most valuable to me are the relationships that I've made along the way. Science is science, and countries are producing PhDs all the time. So parang sa introduction nga, it was mentioned yung sa Balik PhD program, diba? So over the last year and a half, I've been conducting roadshows across the world, meeting with young Filipino scientists who are based abroad. And you can see that many of them are either young postdoctoral scientists or finishing PhD students, and they are all seriously considering returning to the Philippines. That's why, in fact, we've already received, in fact, updated na yung numbers. So as of today, we've already received a total of 46 applications to the Balik PhD program. So kahit paano, the science goes on. Okay. But what is necessary is to not just have the technological expertise, which people can get from the training from the PhD programs. What is important is the scientific networking, because you need to create spaces for people, kasi parang, it's like, how do I call it? Para siyang toolbox, diba? So you have little tools, pero you need to give them a common vision, a common project for the tools to get used to build a house.
Yes.
So that's the thing which needs to be defined. So let's build the house together. And in the process of going from the UK to the United States, I've met many fantastic people who, to some degree, share similar visions. And the similar vision of wanting a better Philippines is a Philippines which is educated scientifically, a Philippines which creates public policy based on data, on evidence, and which therefore requires training and infrastructure and technological know-how. that is, I think, the future of the country. And it's those relationships which I think are most valuable as a scientist.
Siyempre talaga, hindi matatawaran ang husay at galing ng mga Filipino scientists natin at hindi mo maitatanggi incomparable din with the other nations, hindi ba? Talaga namang maipagmamalaki nating lahat. Pero sapat ba yung support na ibibigay sa mga scientists?
I'd say certainly, so much more than siguro sabihin natin 20 years ago.
Okay.
Siguro, if we look at the way I look at it is that if we, for example, examine yung age demographics of, for example, the University of the Philippines,
Yes.
I mean the science people, specifically yung Institute of Chemistry where I'm from, you see that there is a significant number of people who are in their late 50s, papuntang 60s, a retirement government is 65. Tapos, konti lang yung mga nasa 40s and 50s. And then, again, a large number of mid-30s pababa. So it makes you wonder now, what happened? Why is there this missing generation?
Yes.
Yung analysis ko is that, well, in the late 90s, what there was in the world was the East Asian economic crisis. So I still remember those days when currencies were falling apart and economies were falling apart. So if I had been at the point, I was thinking that siguro, what if I had been at the point in my career where in the late 90s when I had to make a choice whether should I develop a scientific career in the Philippines or abroad, wala talagang pera. So it made sense. Yeah, no choice.
Kailangan, no choice ka talaga, lumipat ka na ibang bansa, ganon.
And
Okay.
those people who then went on to get careers, well, established na sila in the US. So for me, that's really the brain. I mean, those were the years of the real brain drain. But precisely because the economic conditions of the country are improving, it made sense to go around and do this Balik PhD roadshow kasi it's now a real viable option for these young scientists who are currently based abroad to see the Philippines as a place to come home to and build their scientific careers. And then, so in addition to the increased, to the improving economic conditions, the University of the Philippines itself is releasing more money now for research. So, for example, at the time when I came back in 2010, yung research startup grant ko was 300,000 pesos. Now with the Balik PhD program, the startup is now 3 million.
Laki.
So
Laking
yes,
difference,
yes,
di
it's
ba?
a huge difference. Plus the many other programs which had been started by the Pascual administration, specifically the Office of the Vice President for Academic Affairs. So, for example, the Emerging Interdisciplinary Research Grant, if you put together partners, that can amount to 10 million pesos per research grant, or the Enhanced Creative Work Research Grant, which is a grant which is dependent on the salary grade of the professor. So, I mean, then there's also support now for participation in international conferences. Dati, sariling sikap talaga yan if you wanted to present your results in a conference abroad. Now, UP funds you. And then also, now, there are incentives to publish research. Kasi the credibility or the ranking of an institution, sa mga QS ranking times higher education, a lot of it depends actually on the amount of ISI-listed publication output of an institution. So dati, if you look at the statistics, 5 years ago, maybe, or siguro mga 6 years ago, 2010, UP as a system was publishing maybe around 200 ISI-listed publications. Right now, papuntang 800 na siya. So in the last 6 years, it times 4 na yung numbers, and that's why UP now is the only university which was in the latest rankings included in sa Times Higher Education. And then, what do you call that? That's why pumasok din siya among the top 400 universities sa QS rankings.
Yes.
Because precisely now there are more monetary incentives for publication. So yes, the climate is better now, and but like what I said, there is technological expertise. Yes, there is increased funding. I think what needs to be done now is to bridge the gap, which is to provide the administrative infrastructure in order to be able to, get an idea from concept all the way to commercialization so that it will have an impact in society.
Okay, so ngayon nakikita na talaga natin ang suporta din sa mga scientists, andyan na. And even now, alam natin kung gaano interesting ang science and technology. Pero marami pa namang kabataan ang takot sa science. Di ba? Di ba, sir? Talaga, di ba?
Nakakatakot talaga.
Oo, pero how do you entice the youth ngayon na itry talaga ang science and technology career?
Well, I think, yes. So I think that's, I like the way you put it, no? This concept that it's a career. No? Why? What does that imply? It implies that pwede kang yumaman by being a scientist. Right? Because I think, I don't know, talking to many young people, they think that kung magiging scientist sila, they will live a destitute life na puro volunteer work, mahirap sila bang buhay. No. That is not the experience of Silicon Valley, for example. That is not the experience of big pharma in Switzerland and in Cambridge.
Tama.
Diba? So all these people who are producing all these drugs like Gleevec, like all these antibody cancer therapies, or these gadgets from Silicon Valley, like the iPhone, so on and so forth, these are real drivers of economies. They are real because of scientific innovation. Inventors will be able to produce a product which had real value in society, really improved people's lives, and as a result, all stakeholders yumaman, right? So it's not volunteer work.
Talaga hindi na ito parang public service, no? Voluntarily na magbibigay ka ng serbisyo.
Yes.
Tignan, pwede nga kumita bilang. so, tatanungin natin mamaya si Sir. Anyway, medyo bitinin muna natin yung ating mga ka-forever, Sir.
Alright,
Mamaya
sige.
pagpapatuloy pa natin yung ating discussion na talaga nakaka-enjoy kausap si Sir. Pero mga ka-forever, let's take a break muna at marami pa tayong i-discuss mamaya. Kaya manatiling naka-online, don't switch website. Samantala, panoorin po muna natin ang video na ito tungkol sa iba pang projects ng DOST.
From fresh cow's milk to mozzarella di latte, Gouda and white cheese, yogurt, butter, and more. These are Highland Fresh quality products' addition to the Northern Mindanao's dairy industry. The Highland Fresh processing plant in El Salvador, Misamis Oriental was established through the initiative of the Northern Mindanao Federation of Dairy Cooperatives.
From the start, ang dairy farmer cooperative organized niya sa Philippine Dairy. This time known by National Dairy Authority. From 1998, nag-start gi-federate na nato ang ato mga primary sa 7 ka kooperatiba. So gisaka-saka gamay ang atong milk production. After ana sa kining pagsakas production na gyud, giabot na siya og 800 hangtod giabot na siya 3,000 ang milk production daily.
Highland Fresh started in household-based milk production and processing with the assistance of the Philippine Dairy Corporation, presently known as the National Dairy Authority. Then, in March 1992, NDA provided NMFDC with a 12 million peso milk processing facility with a capacity of 500 liters of raw milk per hour on a rent-to-own scheme. For the past years, Highland Fresh Milk Processing Plant has been processing an average of 500 liters of raw milk, produced by its dairy farmer members from Bukidnon and Misamis Oriental. With increased raw milk production, processing into liquid and flavored milk is no longer sufficient. Value addition and value creation of milk products through the development and enhancement of other product lines like cream, butter, Gouda cheese, white cheese, mozzarella cheese, yogurt, other milk products and byproducts have become essential components to Highland Fresh's competitive advantage. In 2011, Highland Fresh, with a small enterprise technology upgrading program or setup, DOST provided improved dairy processing equipment.
So ang equipment nga gi-assist sa DOST through setup, cream separator, mao to siya ang mag-separate sa cream gikan sa raw milk
para i-process na mo siya as butter. Ang mozzarella stretcher, gamiton na mo ang pag-process sa mozzarella cheese. Dayon ang chiller, ano siya among displihanan sa among finished product. Kung walay DOST setup assistance, ang Highland Fresh walay produkto nga mozzarella cheese. Ug dako kaya mong pasalamat sa equipment nga ilang di-assist sa among para ma-improve ang among shelf life o nakadugang po siya sa among byproduct.
With various technology interventions, Highland Fresh has improved productivity from an average of 42,000 to 46,000 liters of raw milk per month.
We're able to diversify. So more products are produced like low-fat, non-fat milk, yogurt, and butter. Our income increased by 345%. We're able to increase more customers. So we're now in Lagindingan Airport. We supply them low-fat and non-fat to Shuttle's Best Coffee, to Coffee Bean, and other coffee shops in Cagayan de Oro. We're able to generate more employment. So we can compete now. Our Gouda cheese, not only in Manila, but also are sold abroad.
Under the setup program, Highland Fresh's 6 months operation from October 2012 to March 2013 is at 252,130 liters of milk bars, 197,508 liters of liquid milk, and a total of 70,882 liters of cheese, yogurt, and butter, generating a gross sales of more than 23 million against the total annual sales of 16 million in 2009 before setup intervention.
We are very happy of the result of the project. We just hope that this will not be the last assistance that the UST will be extending to us. We hope they will also help us, especially in our future plan. So we plan to put up a retort facility. So we hope DOST can help us on this.
With DOST, Highland Fresh, Northern Mindanao's pride, aim high to carve a name, a brand for dairy products, mozzarella, Gouda, Gouda and white cheese, cream, butter, yogurt, and milk for consumers' delight. It's not an accident. It is a technology package of intervention, provided the DOST setup way.
Kapag in love ka, lahat ng molecules ng katawan mo naghuhumiyaw, sumisigaw sa kilig at ligaya. Kaya hindi na natin maipigil o mapigilan ang humugot. Heto ng ating mga nakalap na hugot panahon, dito lang sa What's the Weather with You. Mula kay Ma'am Sansu Abada.
Ang pag-ibig mo ay parang buhawi. Sobrang bihira. Grabe ka!
Wala naman tayo kay At I Got You. Sabi niya, sana payong na lang ako para maprotektahan kita umulan man o umaraw. O di ba talaga namang dahil anuman ang iyong nadarama kapag tinamaan ka talaga ng pag-ibig, bibigay din ang iyong puso. Huhugot ka rin, kaya naman let the molecules in your heart shout and scream with love. Kaya sa mga hindi pa humuhugot dyan, i-open nyo na ang mga online devices at mag-post na sa hashtag Hugot Panahon. Maghugot na para lagi tayong magkasama dito sa What's the Weather with You. we're back mga ka-forever. Kasama pa rin natin ang isang award-winning scientist na si Dr. Aaron Joseph Villaraza. Ayan, sir, pag-usapan naman natin talaga itong research ninyo.
Okay.
Kwentuhan nyo kami dito. Anong background nito? Bakit ito yung naisip ninyo?
Sige, yung current research
Yes.
projects ko. So, specifically, yung naging award-winning paper ko for the Outstanding Young Scientist was for the total synthesis of a molecule called nobilamide B. So, ano tong nobilamide B? It is a secondary metabolite which is produced by a bacterial symbiont which is produced by a microorganism which was found inside a shellfish from Sogod in Cebu.
Okay.
Parang treasure hunt to, no?
Oo, talagang napaka-adventurous, di ba? Okay.
Exactly. But this is what I mean about harnessing the biodiversity of the Philippines. That because of the number of microenvironments, it's possible to find these interesting molecules. No? So, okay. So this was done under the auspices of a drug discovery program funded by the U.S. government in collaboration with universities. The University of Utah, Ocean Genome Legacy, Drexel University in Philadelphia, and of course, and the Marine Science Institute and the Institute of Chemistry. So, parang what do we do in the program? We go around the reefs, we collect, we examine the marine biodiversity, we try to see what sort of interesting secondary metabolites are produced by the host organism. But more interestingly, we also look at yung mga bacteria na nakatira sa gut nila. Because it's just that the flora and the fauna is so rich, and there's so many bacteria that we're discovering which previously had not been included in the previously existing phylogenetic trees. No? Anyway, so multidisciplinary yung project. Ako, as a chemist, one of the things that we had been looking at was we extract the molecules from these microbes. We try to see if they can be potential pain drugs or antibiotics or anti-malarials or who knows. No? So we have a battery of assays which we test all these crude extracts from. And some time ago, we discovered, the program discovered a series of molecules known as nobilamides because they were they were found from a microorganism which was living inside a shellfish called Chicoreus nobilis, kaya nobilamide. One of these, specifically nobilamide B, kasi merong nobilamide A to H, marami sila. So specifically, nobilamide B was a compound which was found to target the TRPV1 receptor. So ano yung TRPV1 receptor? The TRPV1 receptor is a transmembrane protein which is associated with the sensation of heat and pain. The normal medicine which targets the TRPV1 receptor actually is capsaicin, yung chili pepper.
Okay.
So, di ba, kung pwede kang pumunta sa mga drugstores and then you can buy topical capsaicin na, let's say for example, masakit yung muscle mo, you just spread it.
Correct.
And then iinit siya. And then afterwards, the pain will go away. So we found out that nobilamide B produces the same effect kasi it has the same molecular target. Kaya lang, the challenge there was that in order to be able to produce around 1 milligram of the compound, it was necessary to culture a total of 15 liters of bacteria. So can you imagine parang ano yung amoy nun? Diba? In the laboratory. So okay, so therefore the chemist had to come in and look at it and say, wait a minute, if nature, because very potent biomolecules, nature does not need to produce them in large amounts kasi potent nga sila. So if you're going to keep extracting it, it's going to turn out very expensive. So we thought, okay, so ako, I was talking about it with the collaborators and then I looked at they said, can you make any of these? Nature can make it. Can you, the scientist, make it? So alam mo naman, Mother Nature is a very good chemist. So under very ambient conditions, nature can do very fantastic chemistry. So I had to make a decision on which of these I felt could be done under Philippine laboratory conditions. No? And I ended up selecting nobilamide B. Very unique molecule. It's a short peptide, 8 amino acids, but having undergone significant post-translational modification. Kasi, di ba, in nature, there are around 20 or so naturally occurring amino acids of a particular conformation. In this particular bacterial peptide, half of it was unnatural. This tells you that it's evolutionarily robust, that meaning that the organism is not going to produce such a sophisticated molecule unless it really needed it. So therefore, it must have a very specific function in the life cycle of the organism. And what we were discovering is that, well, precisely, it can be used for pain management. So ayan, so tiningnan ko ng maigi, and then I decided na, okay, let's see if we can do this. And we started out the project. I ended up contacting my old PhD advisor, who is now a professor in Oxford University. We started another collaboration, and we were able to synthesize the compound. There was technology transfer involved. I managed to get a master's student to continue the project. Not only did he finish the entire molecule, he also made different analogs. Then all of these we submitted for bioassay for testing, and they had varying degrees of bioactivity, and we managed to publish the results in the Royal Society of Chemistry Advances, the RSC Advances Journal. So, and I was very happy. Now this master's student is now a PhD student in Johns Hopkins University. So, so he's now there pursuing his PhD.
So, okay. So talaga nakita natin, sir, na very effective siya. Diba? Siya kakaalam natin, ang resources natin, andyan lang.
Yes.
Ang dali-dali kunin. O, diba? Pero syempre, sir, diba, sabi nga natin, different individuals, kumbaga merong pagkakaiba-iba, bawat individual. So, paano nyo nasisiguro? Meron tayong tinatawag na, what is this? Pharmacokinetics. Ano
okay. Sige, pharmacokinetics is refers to the speed and the amount of time a drug stays active inside the living organism. Kasi whenever you introduce into the body something which is foreign, your immune system recognizes it as something foreign. And therefore, what the immune system will do is to destroy it. Many of these drugs that you introduce into the human body are actually foreign. Diba? They're non-endogenous. They're alien to the human organism. So the natural response of the body is to reject the drugs. So, so one of the jobs of medicinal synthetic chemists is to be able to decorate a molecule in such a way that it makes it amenable to long circulation inside the body kasi
para ma-absorb
para ma-absorb kasi you can have several things happening, like for example, either the moment it's injected, the immune system will destroy it, or let's say for example, it goes into circulation, but it immediately goes into gets filtered out through the kidneys, and then you urinate it. Or let's say, for example, it preferentially ends up in the liver, then the liver takes it apart, diba? So the whole challenge of in medicinal chemistry of improving the pharmacokinetics of properties of a molecule is to keep it in circulation for as long as possible para ma-absorb siya. It has enough time to do its job, but not too long. Kasi you don't want it to stay too long kasi its own metabolites, baka toxic din yung mga metabolites niya. So, that's why dapat tamang-tama lang.
So, traditionally, talaga before, di ba, meron ka, isang pasyente, hanggang sa ma-absorb ng katawan niya, usually parang dinadagdagan ng dosage, binabawasan ng dosage, until now, ganun pa rin.
Yes, but then because the way of pharmacology has improved, di ba parang we can now buy commercially yung mga time-release capsules, di ba? So you take in one dose, but then parang pakonte-konte yung release ng drug, di ba? So there are improvements in pharmacology in this respect. Specifically for the anti-cancer antibodies that I was working with, one of the chemical synthetic tactics that we used was to dress the antibody with water-soluble polymers. So by adding water-soluble polymers, the water-soluble polymers, in a sense, dressed the antibody, made it more water-soluble, so that way it has a better chance of staying longer in circulation. We were able to test it as far as breast cancer cells in a cell culture. And the other thing which we were particularly interested in was attaching a reporter molecule to the whole polymer antibody conjugate. Kasi parang we were trying to develop a series of drugs which we were hoping to classify as theranostic. So, hindi lang therapeutics at hindi lang diagnostics, but two-in-one na para theranostic. You can monitor the response of a disease to an applied therapy in real time. So at least that was the long-term vision that we had.
Totoo ba yun, sir? Kapag naka-liquid form, mas mabilis daw ang absorption ng, sa katawan?
In a sense, yes. So, but the challenge with, for example, an oral drug, let's say kahit syrup, is that the first thing is, will it survive the stomach? Diba? Kasi very acidic yung stomach, diba? So the acidity in the stomach alone might tear up the drug, diba? And that's why minsan, the next option is IV.
Correct.
But then kung IV naman, sometimes if the drug is too polar, then you can get, what do you call it? You can get extravasation, so too much water floods in. Masakit din yan sa pasyente. So that's why the pharmacological preparation is something which is also crucial to the way drugs are prepared.
Kanina nabanggit nyo din sa umpisa ng ating discussion na di ba, may mga pasyente, usually pag nadidetect na yung kanilang yung stage of cancer, medyo yung iba terminal na di ba?
Yes.
So meron kayong mga pag-aaral na ginagawa in a way na pwedeng malimit or parang mabawasan in a way, parang ganon?
Okay, sige. Okay, so hindi ako MD,
Okay.
So, but then my experience working at the National Cancer Institute was that the language which was used there with respect to yung anti-cancer drug discovery was best benefit. Kasi cancer really is a very tricky disease. It's like when kung sasabihin ng tao cancer, actually cancer is a collection of around 150 different diseases. And each one of those 150 different diseases has a different genomic profile. So the best that cancer scientists can do is to write down or list down common characteristics of all cancers. So, for example, what are these? So, cancers are anti-apoptotic. They don't want to die. So, they are pro-proliferative. The normal mechanisms which should stop cell proliferation no longer work. Kaya dumadami sila, nag-tumor. Number 3, they are angiogenic, meaning they pull blood vessels to themselves. Kasi gutom sila eh. They're fast growing, so they need food, they need so they pull all the blood vessels to themselves. And lastly, they are metastatic. Kung stage 4 na talagang metastatic, they'll go all over the place. So, and then what started out as a solid tumor somewhere ends up in some totally unrelated part of the body. So, the way cancer therapies are being developed now is to be able to address these hallmarks. And that's why usually yung mga chemotherapy, mga cocktail preparations yan, it's not just one drug for something. You have to, dapat tamaan mo several of these 4 hallmarks.
Okay, so balikan natin yung study niyo, sir. Gaano ba katagal ginawa ito or yung paano yung kinundak yung study niyo? Gaano katagal kayo nagsunog ng kilay? At saka sa meron palang macromolecular.
Yes.
Diba? Alam na natin molecules macromolecules. Ano ba yan?
Well, it's a question of size, no? Kasi when you do yung medicinal chemistry, a lot of the drugs, for example, yung mga paracetamol, lahat yan, mga small molecules yan, very small, maybe 500 molecular weight. No? So the macromolecules, antibodies, can anywhere be like 400,000 in molecular weight. No? So they're gigantic on the molecular scale. Both are effective. So our immune system operates primarily on using antibodies, and these are huge macromolecules. So kasi the whole theory of using antibodies, for example, in therapy is that antibodies are already produced by the human body to be able to attack bacteria, label bacteria who are, or other pathogens who are coming in. So why not just using this biological natural inspiration, why don't we take advantage of it to be able to provide new solutions? Anyway, what they call that, molecular biology is a science which has long been tested and proven already, that there are existing molecular biology techniques to be able to produce antibodies to be able to serve particular functions that you're interested in. So, to target it against a particular disease. This is what they refer to as yung targeted drug therapy. So, so how long did I take? Kasi I suppose, yung kailangan i-clarify is, where does the medicinal chemist fit in the entire drug development pipeline? Tagaluto ako. That's the best way to put it.
So, ikaw ang chef?
Yes, ako yung chef. But then, after that, after making the molecules and proving na totoo sila, that they exist, that they really are what they are, They then have to go to the microbiologist who have to test it on a cell level. Then they have to go to the veterinarians who can test it on mice or even kahit pig, yung mga animal models. Then it then has to go to the medical doctors who can test it on a clinical trial basis before it can even receive FDA approval. So, like what I said at the start, mahaba yung value chain na yan. And that needs to be settled if we're really going to be able to bring drugs from concept all the way to deployment.
Ang haba pala talaga, no?
Yes.
Ang haba ng proseso, parang gano'n. Ako talaga, pag bibili ka lang ng gamot, alam mo, bumili ka lang ng gamot, enrage siya, etc., minold siya, ganyan, di ba? Gagaling ka na. Pero kayo, sa study ninyo, ano yung ginamit niyong tool for testing? Or meron kayong subject for testing?
Well, it's a collaborative effort. Okay. So, the part where I focus on is really sa total synthesis of the drugs. Okay. Then, when the time comes for testing, I give it now to my collaborators who are molecular biologists, cell biologists. So, because yan yung training nila. Then, yung training ko is in synthetic chemistry.
So, what's next for this project? Anong plano ng DOST, ng NAST for this study?
Okay, for example, in particular, I'm in a DOST-funded project called Drug Development for Health Products, the marine component, DDHP marine component. We are at the stage, so the purpose of this project is to be able to look at marine snail venoms, isolate them from nature, and then to establish the total synthesis, to determine which ones are neuroactive, because precisely it's the neuroactives which can serve as potential pain relievers. So right now, yung nangyayari is that we are more or less confident that we have established the pipeline for the synthesis. Again, each molecule is unique, so even though with the DOST funds, we were able to buy automation, which makes our lives a lot simpler. Kasi nung unang panahon, when I started all of this, lahat yan manual synthesis, no? So, but thankfully,
talaga, no?
Exactly. But thankfully, with the DOST funding, we were able to buy the robotics to do it na. So, at least, yung my research assistants, set up na lang, and then the robot does all the work, no? So, it makes things so much simpler. So, now that that's in place, our collaborators at the Marine Science Institute are currently setting up the facility to test these compounds using frog cells, frog egg cells. So my understanding is that it's a work in progress. So, but we've already told them we have deadlines. Alam mo naman, may funding deadlines. So, so we have the molecules ready. Next step is to test it on the frog egg cells.
So, mas explain lang natin bakit pala snail venom ang ginamit niyo for the pain reliever test.
Right. Okay. So, why snail venoms? First of all, it's an abundant resource. The person who really pioneered all of this is a famous Filipino scientist named Baldomero Olivera. So si Sir Toto, si Baldomero Olivera, is a professor in Salt Lake City in Utah. Pero actually galing UP din siya. So he was UP Chem, and then he went to Caltech to get his PhD. Then for many years now, he's been based there in the United States, in the University of Utah. What he discovered was that you have these marine snails which are in the Philippines. Parang the way they hunt is, nakatago lang sila underneath the sand.
Totoo.
And then when they see a fish coming by, they sting the fish para ma-paralyze yung fish. And then afterwards, they come out of the sand and then they swallow the fish whole. So the venom is used to paralyze. And drawing from that inspiration, Dr. Oliveira realized that, fish are vertebrates. Human beings are vertebrates. Therefore, there is some relationship. You can guess at some relationship that, therefore, if those venoms can work to paralyze a fish, it might work on people as well. So then he went on to start fishing out. To look at the different venoms inside the snails and testing them for neuroactivity. And over his entire scientific career, it's very inspiring to hear Dr. Oliveira speak, because he's an inspiration not just for the Filipino scientific community, but he's an inspiration to the international scientific community. There are several research groups, for example, in Australia, who organize meetings where he is always the principal speaker, because the Australians decided to go into venom. There are several research groups in Australia who decided to go into venom research. tinitingnan nila yung spider venom, scorpion venom, snake venom, like that. But it's clear that the one who started this whole ball rolling on marine snail research is really si Dr. Olivera.
Okay.
So so we're trying to, now that medyo pa-retire na si Dr. Olivera, we're trying to continue his research here in the Philippines kasi dito naman talaga siya nagsimula eh.
Okay. All in all, in general, anong implications and benefits talaga ng inyong pag-aaral? Yung ginawa niyo study and project?
Wow, okay. Overall benefits. I think the best benefit is infrastructure. No? So kasi all of this, whether it's application of chemistry to this disease state or to this disease state, what's important is that there is the scientific mind about it. No? That when a new student, kasi naman chemistry and sciences in general is something from the Middle Ages. It's about apprenticeship. That you have to teach the next generations of people that this is how you continue studying. I mean, no single individual can have a monopoly over knowledge. No? So, what do you call that? And so, in a sense, we've established to some extent that existing infrastructure, and that we hope that it will continue to grow so that precisely, like what I said, that entire value chain, mapuno na siya, and that we will start hopefully seeing drugs coming from concept going into commercial products and having a real impact on society.
Alam niyo sir, talagang sobrang nabibitin tayo sa oras. Sana mahaba pa yung oras natin. Marami pa tayong pagkukwentuhan.
Yes.
Napaka-interesting topic talaga ng mga sinishare ni sir. Pero any final words na lang po dun sa ating mga taga-subaybay?
Well, I think that the future of science in the Philippines is something which is really very hopeful, and that we count on international partners to be able to contribute to that growth. The Philippines is going to be in a very happy place, I think, in the next 2 years.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
At abangan siguro natin yung kapag mga more project pa mula sa inyo. At babalik kayo dito sa DOSTv.
Sure.
Anytime ang DOSTv handang sumuporta sa mga scientists na katulad ninyo.
Thank you very much.
Good luck and more power po. Thank you.
Thank you, Jel.
Ayan, mga ka-forever, nagpapasalamat talaga tayo ngayon. Nakasama natin Dr. Aaron Joseph Villaraza. At salamat po for gracing us with your presence. At talagang nakakabilib talaga ang talino dahil ginagamit niya ito for the greater good. Salamat din for the knowledge and information na shinare niya sa atin sa araw na ito, and more power pa sa inyong research projects, more awards and recognition. Muli po namin kayo inaanyayahan sa 2-day workshop entitled Addressing Inequities in Health, Fostering Action on Social Determinants on October 3 to 4, 2016 at the Manila Hotel, One Rizal Park, Manila. Hosted by the National Academy of Science and Technology Philippines or NAST Philippines and the Inter-Academy Partnership for Health in collaboration with the Philippine Council for Health Research and Development, the Academy of Sciences Malaysia, the Nigerian Academy of Science, and the University of the Philippines, Manila. This 2-day workshop intends to provide an opportunity for health leaders, academics, economists, social scientists, educators, and policymakers to learn about the review process of social determinants of health and develop a work plan to take the project forward in their own country. This workshop will strengthen the advisory role of academies and organizations in direct relations with their governments to bring new evidence of the broader determinants of health and strategies for health-producing policies in all sectors that governments need to both acknowledge and take action to address. Participants of this workshop include distinguished scholars, presidents, and leadership of National Academies of Science, Medicine, Engineering, as well as experts and health advisors from both industrialized and low and middle-income countries in the ASEAN region. Huwag niyo nang palalampasin yan, kaya kita-kits mga ka-forever! Bukod sa science at technology mismo, ang ating Filipino scientist ay may mas malalaki pang mga hamong hinaharap sa kanilang araw-araw na pamumuhay. Gaya ni Dr. Villaraza, nalaman nating palagi nilang isinasaalang-alang ang impact ng kanilang ginagawa para sa kaginhawaan ng ating pamumuhay, kung paano nito matutulungan ang pagpapaunlad ng ekonomiya ng Pilipinas at kung paano mai-inspire ang susunod na henerasyon na mahalin ang S&T at ipagpatuloy ang paglilingkod sa bayan. And there you have it. Salamat po sa ating guest for today. Good luck and more power. Tuloy-tuloy lang ang pagyabong ng knowledge and innovation sa ating bansa. Bukas, ibang topic na naman ang pag-uusapan natin, kaya patuloy lang sa panonood. Kahit anumang panahon ang dumating, babalik kami, kaya nood lang 11 a.m. to 12 noon, Mondays to Fridays. You can visit our webpage at www.dostv.ph and subscribe to our YouTube channel, www.dostv.ph/YouTube. Or follow our Twitter and Instagram page, DOSTvPH, and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/DOSTvPH. Kaya click na at mag-login para lagi tayong magkasama. Dahil weather lang ang laging nandyan, tag-araw man o tag-ulan, hindi nang iiwan kahit sino ka man. Kami ang DOSTv na laging nandyan, may bagyo man, kulog o kidlat, hindi namin kayo iiwan. Dahil laging tandaan, weather is forever.